Canto 96. The Magic Shaft, 374. Thus Rama showed to Janak's child the varied beauties of the wild, the hill, the brook, and each fair spot, then turned to seek their leafy cot. North of the mountain Rama found a cavern in the sloping ground, charming to view. Its floor was strewn with many a mass of ore and stone. In secret shadow, far retired, where gay birds sang with joy inspired, and trees their graceful branches swayed with loads of blossom downward weighed. Soon as he saw the cave, which took each living heart and chained the look, thus Rama spoke to Sítá, who gazed wondering on the sylvan view. Does this fair cave beneath the height, Vidhan lady, charm thy sight? Then let us resting here awhile the languor of the way beguile. That block of stone so smooth and square was set for thee to rest on there, and like a thriving kesar tree, this flowery shrub o'ershadows thee. Thus Rama spoke, and Janak's child, by nature ever soft and mild, in tender words which love betrayed her answer to the hero made. O pride of Raghu's children, still my pleasure is to do thy will. Enough for me thy wish to know, far hast thou wandered to and fro. Thus Sítá spake in gentle tone, and when obedient to the stone, of perfect face and faultless limb, prepared to rest awhile with him. And Rama, as she thus replied, turned to his spouse again and cried, Thou seest, love, this flowery shade for sylvan creatures, pleasure made, how the gum streams from trees and plants torn by the tusks of elephants. Through all the forest clear, and high resounds the shrill cicala's cry. Hark how the kite above us moans, and calls her young in piteous tones, so may my hapless mother be still mourning in her home for me. There mounted on that lofty saul the loud bringraj, 375, repeats his call, how sweetly now he tunes his throat responsive to the Kayal's note. Or else the bird that now has sung may be himself the Kayal's young. Linked with such winning sweetness are the notes he pours irregular. See, round the blooming mango clings that creeper with her tender rings, so in thy love, when none is near, thine arms are thrown round me, my dear. Thus in his joy he cried, and she, sweet speaker, on her lover's knee, of faultless limb and perfect face, grew closer to her lord's embrace. Reclining in her husband's arms, a goddess in her wealth of charms, she filled his loving breast anew with mighty joy that thrilled him through. His finger on the rock he laid, which veins of sanguine ore displayed, and painted o'er his darling's eyes the holy sign in mineral dyes. Bright on her brow the metal lay like the young sun's first gleaming ray, and showed her in her beauty fair as the soft light of morning's air. Then from the kesar's laden tree he picked fair blossoms in his glee, and as he decked each lovely tress, his heart o'erflowed with happiness. So resting on that rocky seat, while they spent in pastime sweet, then onward neath the shady boughs went Rama with his Maithil spouse. She roaming in the forest shade, where every kind of creature strayed, observed a monkey wandering near, and clung to Rama's arm in fear. The hero Rama fondly laced his mighty arms around her waist, consoled his beauty in her dread, and scared the monkey till he fled. That holy mark of sanguine ore that gleamed on Sita's brow before, shone by that close embrace impressed upon the hero's ample chest. Then Sítá, when the beast who led the monkey troop afar had fled, laughed loudly in light-hearted glee that mark on Rama's chest to see. A clump of bright asokas fired the forest in their bloom attired. The restless blossoms, as they gleamed, a host of threatening monkeys seemed. Then Sítá thus to Rama cried, as longingly the flowers she eyed, Pride of thy race, now let us go where those asoka blossoms grow. He on his darling's pleasure bent, with his fair goddess thither went, and roamed delighted through the wood where blossoming asokas stood, as Siva with Queen Yuma roves through Himavan's majestic groves. Bright with purpureal glow the pair of happy lovers sported there, and each upon the other set a flower-enwoven coronet. There many a crown and chain they wove of blooms from that asoka grove, and in their graceful sport the two fresh beauty o'er the mountain threw. The lover let his love survey each pleasant spot that round them lay, then turned they to their green retreat where all was garnished, gay, and neat. By brotherly affection led, Sumitra's son to meet them sped, and showed the labors of the day done while his brother was away. There lay 10 black deer duly slain with arrows pure of poison stain, piled in a mighty heap to dry, with many another carcass nigh. And Lakshman, a letter 1E47's brother, saw, orchestrated, the work that had his hands employed, then to his consort thus he cried, "Now be the general gifts supplied." Then Sítá, fairest beauty, placed the food for living things to taste, and set before the brothers meat and honey that the pair might eat. They ate the meal her hands supplied, their lips with water purified. Then Janak's daughter sat at last, and duly made her own repast. The other venison, to be dried, piled up in heaps, was set aside, and Rama told his wife to stay and drive the flocking crows away. Her husband saw her much distressed by one more bold than all the rest, whose wings where'er he chose could fly, now pierce the earth, now roam the sky. Then Rama laughed to see her stirred to anger by the plaguing bird. Proud of his love, the beauteous dame with burning rage was all aflame. Now here, now there, again she chased the crow, but all in vain, enraging her, so quick to strike with beak and wing and claw alike. Then how the proud lip quivered, how the dark frown marked her angry brow. When Rama saw her cheek aglow with passion, he rebuked the crow. But bold in impudence the bird, with no respect for Rama's word, fearless again at Sítá flew. Then Rama's wrath to fury grew. The hero of the mighty arm spoke o'er a shaft the mystic charm, laid the dire weapon on his bow, and launched it at the shameless crow. The bird, empowered by gods to spring through earth itself on rapid wing, through the three worlds in terror fled, still followed by that arrow dread. Where'er he flew, now here now there, a cloud of weapons filled the air. Back to the high-souled prince he fled and bent at Rama's feet his head, and then, as Sítá looked, began his speech in accents of a man. "Oh, pardon, and for pity's sake spare, Rama, spare my life to take. Where'er I turn, where'er I flee, no shelter from this shaft I see." The chieftain heard the crow entreat helpless and prostrate at his feet, and while soft pity moved his breast, with wisest speech the bird addressed. I took the troubled Sítá's part, and furious anger filled my heart. Then on the string my arrow lay, charmed with a spell thy life to slay. Thou seekest now my feet, to crave forgiveness and thy life to save. So shall thy prayer have due respect, the suppliant I must still protect. But ne'er in vain this dart may flee, yield for thy life a part of thee. What portion of thy body, say, shall this mine arrow rend away? Thus far, O bird, thus far alone on thee my pity may be shown. Forfeit a part thy life to buy, 'tis better so to live than die. Thus Rama spoke. The bird of air pondered his speech with anxious care, and wisely deemed it good to give one of his eyes that he might live. To Raghu's son he made reply, "O Rama, I will yield an eye. So let me in thy grace confide and live hereafter single-eyed." Then Rama charged the shaft, and lo, full in the eye it smote the crow. And the Vidhan lady gazed upon the ruined eye amazed. The crow to Rama humbly bent, then where his fancy led he went. Rama with Lakshman, a letter 1E47 by his side with needful work was occupied. Canto 97. Lakshman's anger. Thus Rama showed his love the rill whose waters ran beneath the hill, then resting on his mountain seat, refreshed her with the choicest meat. So there reposed the happy two, then Bharat's army nearer drew, rose to the skies a dusty cloud, the sound of trampling feet was loud. The swelling roar of marching men drove the roused tiger from his den, and scared Ammon the serpent race, flying to hole and hiding place. The herds of deer in terror fled, the air was filled with birds o'erhead, the bear began to leave his tree, the monkey to the cave to flee. Wild elephants were all amazed, as though the wood around them blazed. The lion oped his ponderous jaw, the buffalo looked round in awe. The prince, who heard the deafening sound, and saw the sylvan creatures round fly wildly startled from their rest, the glorious Lakshman, a letter 1E47 thus addressed. "Sumitra's noble son most dear, hark, Lakshman, a letter 1E47, what a roar I hear! The tumult of a coming crowd, appalling, deafening, deep and loud. The din that yet more fearful grows scares elephants and buffaloes, or frightened by the lions, deer are flying through the wood in fear. I fain would know who seeks this place comes prince or monarch for the chase. Or does some mighty beast of prey fright the sylvan herds away? 'Tis hard to reach this mountain height, yea, e'en for birds in airy flight. Then fain, O Lakshman, a letter 1E47, would I know what cause disturbs the forest so. Lakshman a letter 1E47 in haste, the wood to view, climbed a high saul that near him grew, the forest all around he eyed, first gazing on the eastern side. Then northward when his eyes he bent, he saw a mighty armament of elephants, and cars and horse, and men on foot, a mingled force and banners waving in the breeze, and spoke to Rama words like these: "Quick, quick, my lord, put out the fire, let Sítá to the cave retire. Thy coat of mail around thee throw, prepare thine arrows and thy bow." In eager haste thus Lakshman a letter 1E47 cried, and Rama, lion lord, replied, "Still closer be the army scanned, and say who leads the warlike band." Lakshman a letter 1E47 his answer thus returned, as furious rage within him burned, exciting him like kindled fire to scorch the army in his ire. "'Tis Bharat. He has made the throne by consecrating rights his own, to gain the whole dominion, thus he comes in arms to slaughter us. I mark tree-high upon his car his flagstaff of the Kavadar, 376. I see his glittering banner glance, I see his chivalry advance, I see his eager warriors shine on elephants in lengthened line. Now grasp we each the shafts and bow, and higher up the mountain go. Or in this place, O hero, stand with weapons in each ready hand. Perhaps beneath our might may fall this leader of the standard tall, and Bharat I this day may see who brought this mighty woe on thee, Sítá, and me, who drove away my brother from the royal sway. Bharat our foe at length is nigh, and by this hand shall surely die. Brother, I see no sin at all if Bharat by my weapon fall. No fault is his who slays the foe, whose hand was first to strike the blow. With Bharat, now the crime begins who against thee in duty sins. The queen athirst for royal sway will see her darling son today fall by this hand, like some fair tree struck by an elephant, slain by me. Kaikeyí's self shall perish too with kith and kin and retinue, and earth by my avenging deed shall from this mass of sin be freed. This day my wrath, too long restrained, shall fall upon the foe. Unchained, mad as the kindled flame that speeds destroying through the grass and reeds. This day mine arrows keen and fierce the bodies of the foe shall pierce. The woods on Chitrak acute letter 1E60, a S side shall run with torrents crimson dyed. The wandering beasts of prey shall feed on heart-cleft elephant and steed, and drag to mountain caves away the bodies that my arrows slay. Doubt not that Bharat and his train shall in this mighty wood be slain, so shall I pay the debt my bow, and these my deadly arrows owe. Canto 98. Lakshman calmed. Then Rama nobly calm allayed the wrath that Lakshman a letter 1E47's bosom swayed. What need have we the sword to wield, to bend the bow or lift the shield, if Bharat brave and wise and good, himself has sought this sheltering wood? I swear my father's will to do, and if I now my brother slew, what gain in kingship should I find, despised and scorned by all mankind? Believe me, e'en as I would shrink from poisoned meat or deadly drink, no power or treasure would I win by fall of friend or kith or kin. Brother, believe the words I speak. For your dear sakes alone I seek duty and pleasure, wealth and gain, a holy life, a happy reign. If royal sway my heart desires, my brothers, weal the wish inspires, their bliss and safety is my care, by this uplifted bow I swear. 'Twere not so hard for me, to gain this broad land girdled by the main, but even Indra's royal might should ne'er be mine in duty's spite. If any bliss my soul can see deprived of dear Satrugna, thee, and Bharat, may the flame destroy with ashy gloom the selfish joy. Far dearer than this life of mine, knowing the custom of our line, his heart with fond affection fraught, Bharat Ayodhyá's town resought, and hearing when he came that I, with thee and Sítá, forced to fly with matted hair and hermit dress, am wandering in the wilderness. While grief his troubled senses storms, and tender love his bosom warms, from every thought of evil clear, is come to meet his brother here. Some grievous words perchance he spoke Kaikeyí's anger to provoke, then won the king, and comes to lay before my feet the royal sway. Hither methinks, in season due comes Bharat for an interview, nor in his secret heart has he one evil thought gainst thee or me. What has he done ere now, reflect? How failed in love or due respect, to make thee doubt his faith, and lay this evil to his charge today? Thou shouldst not join with Bharat's name so harsh a speech and idle blame. The blows thy tongue at Bharat deals, my sympathizing bosom feels. How, urged by stress of any ill, should sons their father's lifeblood spill, or brother slay in impious strife a brother dearer than his life? If thou these cruel words hast said by strong desire of empire led, my brother Bharat will I pray to give to thee the kingly sway. Give him the realm, my speech shall be, and Bharat will, methinks, agree. Thus spoke the prince whose chief delight was duty, and to aid the right, and Lakshman, a letter 1E47 keenly felt the blame, and shrank within himself for shame, and then his answer thus returned, with downcast eye and cheek that burned. Brother, I ween, to see thy face our sire himself has sought this place. Thus Lakshman, a letter 1E47 spoke and stood ashamed, and Rama saw and thus exclaimed, It is the strong-armed monarch. He is come, methinks, his sons to see, to bid us both the forest quit for joys for which he deems us fit. He thinks on all our care and pain, and now would lead us home again. My glorious father hence will bear Sítá, who claims all tender care. I see two coursers fleet as storms, of noble breed and lovely forms. I see the beast of mountain size, who bears the king our father wise, the aged victor, march this way in front of all the armed array. But doubt and fear within me rise, for when I look with eager eyes I see no white umbrella spread, world famous, o'er the royal head. Now Lakshman, a letter 1E47, from the tree descend, and to my words attention lend. Thus spoke the pious prince, and he descended from the lofty tree, and reverent hand to hand applied, stood humbly by his brother's side. The host, compelled by Bharat's care, the wood from trampling feet to spare, dense crowding half a league each way, encamped around the mountain lay. Below the tall hill's shelving side gleamed the bright army far and wide spread o'er the ample space. By Bharat led who firmly true in duty from his bosom through all pride, and near his brother drew to win the hero's grace. Canto 99. Bharat's approach. Soon as the warriors took their rest, obeying Bharat's high behest, thus Bharat to Satrugna spake, A band of soldiers with thee take, and with these hunters o'er and o'er the thickets of the wood explore. With bow, sword, arrows in their hands, let Gyuha with his kindred bands within this grove remaining, trace the children of Kakutsa's race. And I meanwhile on foot will through this neighboring wood my way pursue, with elders and the twice-born men, and every lord and citizen. There is, I feel, no rest for me till Rama's face again I see, Lakshman, a letter 1E47, in arms and glory great, and Sítá born to happy fate. No rest, until his cheek is bright as the fair moon rejoice my sight, no rest until I see the eye with which the lotus petals vie, till on my head those dear feet rest with signs of royal rank impressed. None, till my kingly brother gain his old hereditary reign, till o'er his limbs and noble head the consecrating drops be shed. How blessed is Janak's daughter, true to every wifely duty, who cleaves faithful to her husband's side, whose realm is girt by ocean's tide. This mountain too above the rest an, as the king of hills is blessed, whose shades Kakutsa's scion hold, as Nandan charms the lord of gold. Yea, happy is this tangled grove where savage beasts unnumbered rove, where, glory of the warrior race, King Rama finds a dwelling place. Thus Bharat, strong-armed hero, spake, and walked within the pathless brake. O'er plains where gay trees bloomed he went, through boughs in tangled network bent, and then from Rama's cot appeared the banner which the flame upreared. And Bharat joyed with every friend to mark those smoky wreaths ascend. Here Rama dwells, he thought. At last the ocean of our toil is past. Then sure that Rama's hermit cot was on the mountain's side, he stayed his army on the spot, and on with Gyuha hied. Canto 100. The meeting. Then Bharat to Satrugna showed the spot, and eager onward strode, first bidding Saint V, a execute, ish letter 1E60, a bring the widowed consorts of the king. As by fraternal love impelled his onward course the hero held, Sumantra followed close behind Satrugna with an anxious mind. Not Bharat's self more fain could be to look on Rama's face than he. As, speeding on, the spot he neared amid the hermits, homes appeared his brother's cot with leaves o'erspread, and by its side a lowly shed. Before the shed great heaps were left of gathered flowers and billets cleft, and on the trees hung grass and bark Rama and Lakshman, a letter 1E47's path to mark. and heaps of fuel to provide against the cold stood ready dried. The long-armed chief, as on he went in glory's light preeminent, with joyous words like these addressed the brave Satrugna and the rest. This is the place, I little doubt, which Bharadvaja pointed out, not far from where we stand must be the woodland stream, Mandakini. Here on the mountain's woody side roam elephants in tusked pride, and ever with a roar and cry each other, as they meet, defy. And see those smoke wreaths thick and dark, the presence of the flame they mark, which hermits in the forest strive by every art to keep alive. Oh happy me! My task is done, and I shall look on Raghu's son, like some great saint, who loves to treat his elders with all reverence meet. Thus Bharat reached that forest rill, thus roamed on Chitrak acute letter 160, a S hill, then pity in his breast awoke, and to his friends the hero spoke. Woe, woe upon my life and birth! The Prince of Men, the Lord of Earth, has sought the lonely wood to dwell sequestered in a hermit's cell. Through me these sorrows fall on him, the splendid Lord of all. Through me resigning earthly bliss, he hides him in a home like this. Now will I, by the world abhorred, fall at the dear feet of my Lord, and at fair Sítá, S2, to win his pardon for my heinous sin. As thus he sadly mourned and sighed, the son of Dasaratha spied a bower of leafy branches made, sacred and lovely in the shade, of fair proportions large and tall, well roofed with boughs of palm, and saw, arranged in order due o'erhead like grass upon an altar spread. 2 glorious bows were gleaming there, like Indra's, 377, in the rainy air terror of foemen, backed with gold meet for the mightiest hand to hold, and quivered arrows cast a blaze bright gleaming like the day god's rays, thus serpents with their eyes aglow adorn their capital below. 378, great swords adorned the cottage, laid each in a case of gold brocade there hung the trusty shields, whereon with purest gold the bosses shone. The brace to bind the bowman's arm, the glove to shield his hand from harm, a luster to the cottage lent from many a golden ornament. Safe was the cot from fear of men, as from wild beasts the lion's den. The fire upon the altar burned, that to the north and east was turned. Bharat his eager glances bent and gazed within the cot intent, in deerskin dress, with matted hair. Rama his chief was sitting there, with lion shoulders broad and strong, with lotus eyes, arms thick and long. The righteous sovereign, who should be lord paramount from sea to sea, high-minded, born to lofty fate, like Brahma's self supremely great, with Lakshman a letter 1E47 by his side, and her, fair Sítá, for his minister. And Bharat gazing, overcome by sorrow for a while was dumb, then, yielding to his woe, he ran to Rama and with sobs began. He who a royal seat should fill with subjects round to do his will, my elder brother, see him here, with sylvan creatures waiting near. The high-souled hero, wanna wear the costliest robes exceeding fair, now banished in a deerskin dress, here keeps the path of righteousness. How brooks the son of Raghu now the matted locks, which load his brow around, whose princely head were twined sweet blossoms of the rarest kind. The prince whose merits grew, acquired by rites performed as he desired, would now a store of merit gain bought by his body's toil and pain. Those limbs to which pure sandal lent the freshness of its fragrant scent, exposed to sun, and dust, and rain, are now defiled with many a stain. And I the wretched cause why this falls on the prince whose right is bliss. Ah me, that ever I was born to be the people's hate and scorn. Thus Bharat cried, of anguish sprung, great drops upon his forehead hung. He fell o'erpoured, his grief was such, ere he his brother's feet could touch. As on the glorious prince he gazed in vain, his broken voice he raised. Dear Lord, through tears and sobbing came the only words his lips could frame. And brave Satrugna wept aloud, as low at Rama's feet he bowed. Then Rama, while his tears ran fast, his arms around his brothers cast. Gyuha, Sumantra came to meet the princes in their wild retreat. Vrihaspati and Sukra, bright their greeting thus rejoice to pay to the dear Lord who brings the night, and the great God who rules the day. Then wept the dwellers of the shade, whose eyes the princes, meet to ride on mighty elephants, surveyed, and cast all thought of joy aside. Canto 101. Bharata questioned. Then Rama gazed, and scarcely knew Bharat so worn and changed in hue. He raised him, kissed him on the head, embraced him, and thus kindly said, Where was thy father, brother dear, that thou art come to seek me here? Unmeet, if he be living yet, thy feet within the wood to set. I pray thee now the cause declare why thou hast left the kingdom there, with matted locks and deerskin dress, to roam the distant wilderness. Thus questioned by the prince, at length Kaikeyí's son regained his strength, and hand to hand in reverence laid, to Rama thus his answer made. The great-armed monarch, O my lord, has dared to do a thing abhorred, left us, and grieving for his son, a home among the gods has won. My mother Queen Kaikeyí gave the order to the king her slave, and at the bidding of the dame, he wrought the sin which mars his fame. Athirst for sway, her hopes are crossed, she mourns her son, her husband lost, and through her impious crime will go for punishment to hell below. Now, O my lord, forgive me all, be gracious to thy lowly thrall, anointed king, accept today like Indra's self, the royal sway. Be gracious, prince, to lord and peer, and widowed queens who seek thee here accept the kingdom thine by right, and so thy faithful friends delight. Let the broad land no longer be all widowed and forlorn of thee. Let the full moon of autumn reign triumphant o'er the night again. These lords and I before thee bend, O Rama, to our prayer attend. O do not thou this grace deny, thy brother, pupil, slave am I. Look on this venerable ring, advisers of our sire the king, from age to age so honored. Thou shouldst grant their supplication now. As weeping thus the hero prayed, his head at Rama's feet he laid. Like a mad elephant he sighed, and Rama gazed and thus replied. How, brother, can a man of worth, true to his vows, of noble birth, a man like me, commit a sin the lordship of the land to win? No slightest shade of fault I see, O tamer of thy foes, in thee. But ne'er shouldst thou in childish thought the queen, thy mother blame in aught. O brother wise and sinless, know the sacred laws would have it so, that from good wife and son require obedience to their lord and sire. And we are all the king's, for thus the virtuous ever reckon us. Yea, brother, be it known to thee his wives and sons and pupils we. His is the right, if he deem fit, to bid me, throned as monarch, sit, or in a coat of bark expel, and deerskin in the wood to dwell. And oh remember, best of all who act as claims of duty call, as to a virtuous sire is due, such honor claims a mother too. So they whose lives have ever been by duty led, the king and queen said, Rama, seek the forest shade, and I, what could I else? Obeyed. Thou must the royal power retain, and o'er the famed Ayodhyá reign. I, dressed in bark my days, will spend where D a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a K.S. forest wilds extend. So Dasaratha spoke, our king, his share to each apportioning before his honored servants' eyes. Then, heir of bliss, he sought the skies. The righteous monarch's honored will, whom all revered, must guide thee still, and thou must still enjoy the share assigned thee by our father's care. So I till twice 7 years are spent, will roam this wood in banishment, contented with the lot which he, my high-souled sire, has given me. The charge the monarch gave, endeared to all mankind, by all revered, peer of the Lord supreme, far better, richer far in gain of every blessing than to reign o'er all the worlds I deem. Canto 102. Bharat's tidings. He spoke, and Bharat thus replied. If, false to every claim beside, I ne'er in kingly duties fail, what will my royal life avail? Still should the custom be observed, from which our line has never swerved, which to the younger son ne'er gives the kingdom while the elder lives. Now to Ayodhyá rich and fair with me, O Raghu's son, repair, and to protect and gladden all our house, thyself as king install. A king the world's opinion deems a man. To me a god he seems, whose life in virtuous thoughts and deeds the lives of other men exceeds. When I in distant Kaikeyí stayed, and thou hadst sought the forest shade, our father died, the saints' delight, so constant in each holy rite. Scarce with thy wife and a K.S.H.M. a letter 1E47 thou hadst journeyed forth to keep the vow, when mourning for his son, forspent, to heavenly rest the monarch went. Then up, O Lord of men, away. His funeral rites of water pay. I and Satrugna, ere we came, neglected not the sacred claim. But in the spirit world, they say, that gift alone is fresh for I which best beloved hands have poured, and thou his dearest art, my lord. For thee he longed, for thee he grieved, his every thought on thee was bent, and crushed by woe of the bereaved, he thought of thee as hence he went. Canto 103. The Funeral Libation. When Rama heard from Bharat each dark sorrow of his mournful speech, and tidings of his father dead, his spirits fell, his senses fled. For the sad words his brother spoke struck on him like a thunder stroke, fierce as the bolt which Indra throws, the victor of his Daitya foes. Raising his arms in anguish, he, as when the woodman hews a tree with its fair flowery branches crowned, fainted and fell upon the ground. Lord of the earth to earth he sank, helpless, as when a towering bank with sudden ruin buries deep an elephant who lay asleep. Then swift his wife and brothers flew, and water, weeping, o'er him threw. As slowly sense and strength he gained, fast from his eyes the tears he rained. And then in accents sad and weak Kakutsa's son began to speak, and mourning for the monarch dead, with righteous words to Bharat said, "What calls me home, when he, alas, has gone the way which all must pass? Of him, the best of kings, bereft what guardian has Ayodhyá left? How may I please his spirit? How delight the high-souled monarch now, who wept for me and went above by me ungraced with mourning love? Ah, happy brothers! You have paid due offerings to his parting shade. E'en when my banishment is o'er, back to my home I go no more, to look upon the widowed state reft of her king, disconsolate. E'en then, O tamer of the foe, if to Ayodhya's town I go, who will direct me as of old, now other worlds our father hold? From whom, my brother, shall I hear those words which ever charmed mine ear, and filled my bosom with delight, whene'er he saw me act aright?" Thus Rama spoke, then nearer came, and looking on his moonbright dame, "Sítá, the king is gone," he said, "and Lakshman a letter 1E47, know thy sire is dead, and with the gods on high enrolled, this mournful news has Bharat told." He spoke. The noble youths with sighs rained down the torrents from their eyes. And then the brothers of the chief with words of comfort soothed his grief. Now to the king our sire, who swayed the earth, be due libations paid. Soon as the monarch's fate, she knew, sharp pangs of grief smote Sítá through, nor could she look upon her lord with eyes from which the torrents poured. And Rama strove with tender care to soothe the weeping dame's despair. And then, with piercing woe distressed, the mournful Lakshman a letter 1E47 thus addressed: "Brother, I pray thee bring for me the pressed fruit of the inguity, and a bark mantle fresh and new, that I may pay this offering due. First of the three shall Sítá go, next thou, and I the last, for so moves the funereal pomp of woe." 379. Sumantra of the noble mind, gentle and modest, meek and kind, who, follower of each princely youth, to Rama clung with constant truth, now with the royal brothers' aid the grief of Rama soothed and stayed, and lent his arm his lord to guide down to the river's holy side. That lovely stream the heroes found, with woods that ever blossomed crowned, and there in bitter sorrow bent their footsteps down the fair descent. Then where the stream that swiftly flowed a pure pellucid shallow showed, the funeral drops they duly shed, and "Father, this be thine," they said. But he, the lord who ruled the land, filled from the stream his hollowed hand, and turning to the southern side stretched out his arm and weeping cried, "This sacred water clear and pure, an offering which shall I endure to thee, O Lord of kings, I give, accept it where the spirits live." Then, when the solemn rite was o'er, came Rama to the river shore, and offered with his brothers aid, fresh tribute to his father's shade. With jujube fruit he mixed the seed of inguties from moisture freed, and placed it on a spot o'erspread with sacred grass, and weeping said, "Enjoy, great king, the cake which we thy children eat and offer thee. For ne'er do blessed gods refuse to share the food which mortals use." Then Rama turned him to retrace the path that brought him to the place, and up the mountain's pleasant side, where lovely lawns lay fair, he hied. Soon as his cottage door, he gained his brothers to his breast he strained. From them and Sítá in their woes, so loud the cry of weeping rose, that like the roar of lions round the mountain rolled the echoing sound. And Bharat's army shook with fear, the weeping of the chiefs to hear. "Bharat," the soldiers cried, "'tis plain his brother Rama meets again, and with these cries that round us ring they sorrow for their sire the king." Then leaving car and wain behind, one eager thought in every mind, swift toward the weeping, every man, as each could find a passage, ran. Some thither bent their eager course with car, and elephant, and horse, and youthful captains on their feet with longing sped their lord to meet, as though the newcome prince had been in exile for long years unseen. Earth beaten in their frantic zeal by clattering hoof and rumbling wheel, sent forth a deafening noise as loud as heaven when black with many a cloud. Then, with their consorts gathered near, wild elephants in sudden fear rushed to a distant wood, and shed an odor round them as they fled. And every sylvan thing that dwelt within those shades the terror felt, deer, lion, tiger, boar, and roe, bison, wild cow, and buffalo. And when the tumult wild they heard, with trembling pinions flew each bird from tree, from thicket, and from lake, swan, kyle, curlew, crane, and drake. With men the ground was overspread, with startled birds the sky o'erhead. Then on his sacrificial ground, the sinless, glorious chief was found. Loading with curses deep and loud the humpback and the queen, the crowd whose cheeks were wet, whose eyes were dim, in fond affection ran to him. While the big tears their eyes bedewed, he looked upon the multitude, and then as sire and mother do, his arms about his loved ones threw. Some to his feet with reverence pressed, some in his arms he strained, each friend, with kindly words addressed, due share of honor gained. Then by their mighty woe o'ercome, the weeping heroes' cry filled, like the roar of many a drum, hill, cavern, earth, and sky. Canto 104. The Meeting with the Queens. V a execute ish letter 1e60h, a with his soul athirst to look again on Rama, first in line the royal widows placed, and then the way behind them traced. The ladies moving, faint and slow, saw the fair stream before them flow, and by the bank their steps were led which the two brothers visited. Kausalya with her faded cheek and weeping eyes began to speak, and thus in mournful tones addressed the Queen Sumitra and the rest. See in the wood the bank's descent, which the two orphan youths frequent, whose noble spirits never fall, though woes surround them, reft of all. Thy son with love that never tires draws water hence, which mine requires. This day, for lowly toil unfit, his pious task thy son should quit. As on the long-eyed lady strayed, on holy grass, whose points were laid directed to the southern sky, the funeral offering met her eye. When Rama's humble gift she spied thus to the queen's Kausalya cried, the gift of Rama's hand behold, his tribute to the king high-souled, offered to him, as texts require, lord of Ikshváku's line, his sire. Not such I deem the funeral food of kings, with godlike might endued. Can he who knew all pleasures, he who ruled the earth from sea to sea, the mighty lord of monarchs, feed on Inguti's extracted seed? In all the world there cannot be a woe, I ween, more sad to see, than that my glorious son should make his funeral gift of such a cake. The ancient text I oft have heard this day is true in every word. Ne'er do the blessed gods refuse to eat the food their children use. The ladies soothed the weeping dame, to Rama's hermitage they came, and there the hero met their eyes like a god fallen from the skies. Him joyless, reft of all, they viewed, and tears their mournful eyes bedewed. The truthful hero left his seat, and clasped the lady's lotus feet, and they with soft hands brushed away the dust that on his shoulders lay. Then Lakshman a letter 1e47, when he saw each queen with weeping eyes and troubled mien, near to the royal ladies drew, and paid them gentle reverence too. He, Dasaratha's offspring, signed the heir of bliss by fortune kind, received from every dame no less each mark of love and tenderness. And Sítá came and bent before the widows, while her eyes ran o'er, and pressed their feet with many a tear. They when they saw the lady dear pale, worn with dwelling in the wild, embraced her as a darling child. Daughter of royal Janak, bride of Dasaratha's son, they cried, how couldst thou, offspring of a king, endure this woe and suffering in the wild forest? When I trace each sign of trouble on thy face, that lotus which the sun has dried, that lily by the tempest tried, that gold whereon the dust is spread, that moon whence all the light is fled, sorrow assails my heart, alas, as fire consumes the wood and grass. Then Rama, as she spoke distressed, the feet of Saint V a execute ish letter 1e60h oppressed, touched them with reverential love, then near him took his seat. Thus Indra clasps in realms above the heavenly teachers, 380 feet. Then with each counselor and peer, Bharat of duteous mind, with citizens and captains near, sat humbly down behind. when with his hands to him upraised, in devotee's attire, Bharat upon his brother gazed whose glory shone like fire, as when the pure Mahendra bends to the great Lord of life. Among his noble crowd of friends, this anxious thought was rife. What words to Raghu's son today will royal Bharat speak, whose heart has been so prompt to pay obeisance fond and meek? Then steadfast Rama, LKSHM, a letter 1E47 wise, Bharat for truth renowned, shone like three fires that heavenward rise with holy priests around. Canto 105. Rama's speech. A while they sat, each lip compressed, then Bharat thus his chief addressed. My mother here was made content, to me was given the government. This now, my lord, I yield to thee, enjoy it, from all trouble free. Like a great bridge the floods have rent, impetuous in their wild descent, all other hands, but thine in vain would strive the burthen to maintain. In vain the ass with steeds would vie with Tarkshia, 381 birds that wing the sky. So, Lord of men, my power is slight to rival than imperial might. Great joys his happy days attend on whom the hopes of men depend, but wretched is the life he leads who still the aid of others needs. And if the seed a man has sown, with care and kindly nurture grown, rear its huge trunk and spring in time too bulky for a dwarf to climb, yet with perpetual blossom gay, no fruit upon its boughs display, ne'er can that tree, thus nursed in vain approval of the virtuous gain. The simile is meant to be applied, O mighty armed, to thee, because our Lord and leader, thou protectest not thy people now. Oh, be the longing wish fulfilled of every chief of house and guild, to see again their sun-bright Lord victorious to his realm restored. As thou returnest through the crowd, let roars of elephants be loud, and each fair woman lift her voice, and in her new-found king rejoice. The people all with longing moved, the words that Bharat spoke approved, and crowding near to Rama pressed the hero with the same request. The steadfast Rama, when he viewed his glorious brother's mournful mood, with each ambitious thought controlled, thus the lamenting prince consoled. I cannot do the things I will, for Rama is but mortal still. Fate with supreme, resistless law this way, and that its slave will draw all gathered heaps must waste away, all lofty lore and powers decay. Death is the end of life, and all, now firmly joined, apart must fall. One fear the ripened fruit must know to fall upon the earth below, so every man who draws his breath must fear inevitable death. The pillared mansion, high, compact, must fall by time's strong hand attacked, so mortal men, the gradual prey of old and ruthless death, decay. The night that flies no more returns, Yamuna for the ocean yearns, swift her impetuous waters flee, but roll not backward from the sea. The days and nights pass swiftly by, and steal our moments as they fly as the sun's unpitying rays drink up the floods in summer blaze. Then for thyself lament and leave for death of other men to grieve, for if thou go or if thou stay, thy life is shorter day by day. Death travels with us. Death attends our steps until our journey ends. Death, when the traveler wins the goal, returns with the returning soul. The flowing hair grows white and thin, and wrinkles mark the altered skin. The ills of aged man's strength assail. Ah, what can mortal power avail? Men joy to see the sun arise, they watch him set with joyful eyes, but ne'er reflect, too blind to see, how fast their own brief moments flee. With lovely change for ever new the seasons, sweet return they view, nor think with heedless hearts the while that lives decay, as seasons smile. As haply on the boundless main meet drifting logs and part again, so wives and children, friends and gold, whereas for a little time we hold, soon by resistless laws of fate to meet no more we separate. In all this changing world, not one the common lot of all can shun. Then, why with useless tears deplore the dead whom tears can bring no more? As one might stand upon the way and to a troop of travelers say, if ye allow it, sirs, I too will travel on the road with you. So why should mortal man lament, when on that path his feet are bent which all men living needs must tread, where sire and ancestors have led? Life flies as torrents downward fall speeding away without recall, so virtue should our thoughts engage, for bliss, 382, is mortal's heritage. By ceaseless care and earnest zeal for servants, and for people's weal by gifts, by duty nobly done, our glorious sire the skies has won. Our Lord the King, o'er earth who reigned, a blissful home in heaven has gained by wealth in ample largess spent, and many a right magnificent, with constant joy from first to last a long and noble life he passed, praised by the good, no tears should dim our eyes, O brother dear, for him. His human body, worn and tried by length of days, he cast aside, and gained the godlike bliss to stray in Brahma's heavenly home for aye. For such the wise as we are, deep in Veda lore, should never weep. Those who are firm and ever wise spurn vain lament and idle sighs. Be self-possessed, thy grief restrain, go, in that city dwell again. Return, O best of men, and be obedient to our sire's decree, while I with every care fulfill our holy Father's righteous will, observing in the lonely wood his charge approved by all the good. Thus Rama of the lofty mind to Bharat spoke his righteous speech, by every argument designed obedience to his sire to teach. Canto 106. Bharat's speech. Good Bharat by the riverside to virtuous Rama's speech replied, and thus with varied lore addressed the prince, while nobles round him pressed. In all this world whom e'er can we find equal, scourge of foes, to thee? No ill upon thy bosom weighs, no thoughts of joy thy spirit raise. Approved art thou of sages old, to whom thy doubts are ever told. Alike in death and life, to thee the same to be and not to be. The man who such a soul can gain, can ne'er be crushed by woe or pain. Pure as the gods, high-minded, wise, concealed from thee no secret lies. Such glorious gifts are all thine own, and birth and death to thee are known, that ill can ne'er thy soul depress with all-subduing bitterness. O let my prayer, dear brother, win thy pardon for my mother's sin. Wrought for my sake, who willed it not when absent in a distant spot. Duty alone with binding chains the vengeance due to crime restrains, or on the sinner I should lift my hand in retribution swift. Can I who know the right, and spring from Dasaratha, purest king, can I commit a heinous crime, abhorred by all through endless time? The aged king I dare not blame, who died so rich in holy fame, my honored sire, my parted lord, and as a present god adored. Yet who in lore of duty skilled so foul a crime has ever willed, and dared defy both gain and right to gratify a woman's spite? When death draws near, so people say, the sense of creatures dies away, and he has proved the ancient saw by acting thus in spite of law. But O my honored lord, be kind, dismiss the trespass from thy mind. The sin the king committed led by haste, his consort's wrath and dread. For he who veils his sire's offense with tender care and reverence, his sons approved by all shall live, not so their fate who ne'er forgive. Be thou, my lord, the noble son, and the vile deed my sire has done abhorred by all the virtuous ne'er resent, lest thou the guilt too share. Preserve us, for on thee we call, our sire, Kaikeyí, me and all thy citizens, thy kith and kin, preserve us and reverse the sin. To live in woods, a devotee can scarce with royal tasks agree, nor can the hermit's matted hair suit fitly with a ruler's care. Do not, my brother, do not still pursue this life that suits thee ill. Mid duties of a king, we count his consecration paramount, that he with ready heart and hand may keep his people and his land. What warrior born to royal sway from certain good would turn away? A doubtful duty to pursue, that mocks him with the distant view. Thou wouldst to duty cleave, and gain the meed that follows toil and pain. In thy great task no labor spare, rule the four castes with justest care. Mid all the four, the wise prefer the order of the householder. 383, canst thou, whose thoughts to duty cleave, the best of all the orders leave. My better thou in lore divine, my birth, my sense must yield to thine, while thou, my lord, art here to reign, how shall my hands the rule maintain? O faithful lover of the right, take with thy friends the royal might, let thy sire's realm, from trouble free, obey her rightful king in thee. Here let the priests and lords of state our monarch duly consecrate, with prayer and holy verses, blessed by Saint V. A. Execute, ISH letter 1E60H, and the rest. Anointed king by us, again seek fair Ayodhyá, there to reign, and like imperial Indra girt by gods of storm, thy might assert. From the three debts, 384 acquittance earn, and with thy wrath the wicked burn, o'er all of us thy rule extend, and cheer with boons each faithful friend. Let thine enthronement, Lord, this day make all thy lovers glad and gay, and let all those who hate thee flee to the 10 winds for fear of thee. Dear Lord, my mother's words of hate with thy sweet virtues expiate, and from the stain of folly clear the Father whom we both revere. Brother, to me compassion show, I pray thee with my head bent low, and to these friends who on thee call, as the great Father pities all. But if my tears and prayers be vain, and thou in woods wilt still remain, I will with thee my path pursue, and make my home in forests too. Thus Bharat strove to bend his will with suppliant head, but he, earth's lord, inexorable still would keep his sire's decree. The firmness of the noble chief the wondering people moved, and rapture mingling with their grief all wept and all approved. How firm his steadfast will, they cried, who keeps his promise thus. Ah, to Ayodhya's town, they sighed, he comes not back with us. The holy priest, the swains who tilled the earth, the sons of trade, and e'en the mournful queens were filled with joy as Bharat prayed, and bent their heads, then weeping stilled a while his prayer to aid. Canto 107. Rama's speech. Thus by his friends encompassed round, he spoke, and Rama, far renowned, to his dear brother thus replied, whom holy rites had purified. O thou whom Queen Kaikeyí bare the best of kings, thy words are fair. Our royal father, when of yore he wed her, to her father swore the best of kingdoms to confer, a noble dowry meet for her. Then, grateful, on the deadly day of heavenly gods and demons, fray, a future boon on her bestowed, to whose sweet care his life he owed. She to his mind that promise brought, and then the best of kings besought to bid me to the forest flee, and give the rule, O prince, to thee. Thus bound by oath, the king our lord gave her those boons of free accord, and bade me, O thou chief of men, live in the woods 4 years and 10. I to this lonely wood of hide with faithful L, a KSHM, a letter 1E47 by my side. And Sítá by no tears deterred, resolved to keep my father's word. And thou, my noble brother, too shouldst keep our father's promise true, anointed ruler of the state maintain his word inviolate. From his great debt, dear brother, free our lord the king for love of me, thy mother's breast with joy inspire, and from all woe preserve thy sire. 'Tis said, near Gaya's holy town, 385 Gaya, great saint of high renown, this text recited when he paid due rites to each ancestral shade. A son is born his sire to free from put's infernal pains, hence, savior of his father, he the name of Putra gains. 386. Thus numerous sons are sought by prayer, in scripture trained with graces fair, that of the number one some day may funeral rites at Gaya pay. The mighty saints who lived of old this holy doctrine ever hold. Then, best of men, our sire release from pains of hell, and give him peace. Now Bharat, to Ayodhyá speed. The brave Satrugna with thee lead take with thee all the twice-born men, and please each lord and citizen. I now, O king, without delay to D a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a K wood will bend my way, and L a KSHM a letter 1E47, and the Mathil dame will follow still, our path the same. Now Bharat, lord of men be thou, and o'er Ayodhyá reign, the sylvan world to me shall bow, king of the wild domain. Yea, let thy joyful steps be bent to that fair town today, and I as happy and content, to D a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a K wood will stray. The white umbrella o'er thy brow its cooling shade shall throw, I to the shadow of the bough and leafy trees will go. Satrugna, for wise plans renowned, shall still on thee attend, and L a KSHM a letter 1E47, ever faithful found, be my familiar friend. Let us his sons, O brother dear, the path of right pursue, and keep the king we all revere still to his promise true. Canto 108. Jáváli's speech. Thus Rama soothed his brother's grief, then virtuous Jáváli, chief of twice-born sages, thus replied in words that virtue's law defied. Hail, Raghu's princely son, dismiss a thought so weak and vain as this. Canst thou, with lofty heart endowed, think with the dull ignoble crowd? For what are ties of kindred? Can one profit by a brother man? Alone the babe first opes his eyes, and all alone at last he dies. The man, I ween, has little sense who looks with foolish reverence on father's or on mother's name. In others, none a right may claim. E'en as a man may leave his home, and to a distant village roam, then from his lodging turn away and journey on the following day such brief possession mortals hold in sire and mother, house and gold, and never will the good and wise the brief uncertain lodging prize. Nor, best of men, shouldst thou disown thy sire's hereditary throne, and tread the rough and stony ground where hardship, danger, woes abound. Come, let Ayodhyá rich and bright see thee enthroned with every right, her tresses bound in single braid, 387 she waits thy coming long delayed. O come, thou royal prince, and share the kingly joys that wait thee there, and live in bliss transcending price as Indra lives in paradise. The parted king is not to thee, nor right in living man has he. The king is one, thou, prince of men another art, be counseled then. Thy royal sire, O chief, has sped on the long path we all must tread. The common lot of all is this, and thou in vain art robbed of bliss. For those, and only those, I weep who to the path of duty keep, for here they suffer ceaseless woe, and dying to destruction go. With pious care, each solemn day, will men their funeral offerings pay. See, how the useful food they waste, he who is dead no more can taste. If one is fed, his strength renewed whene'er his brother takes his food, then offerings to the parted pay, scarce will they serve him on his way. By crafty knaves these rules were framed, and to enforce men's gifts proclaimed. Give, worship, lead a life austere, keep lustral rites, quit pleasures here. There is no future life, be wise and do, O prince, as I advise. Enjoy, my lord, the present bliss, and things unseen from thought dismiss. Let this advice thy bosom move, the counsel sage which all approve, to Bharat's earnest prayer incline, and take the rule so justly thine. Canto 109. The Praises of Truth. By sage Jáváli thus addressed, Ráma of truthful hearts the best, with perfect skill and wisdom high thus to his speech made fit reply. Thy words that tempt to bliss are fair, but virtue's garb they falsely wear. For he from duty's path who strays to wander in forbidden ways, allured by doctrine false and vain, praise from the good can never gain. There lives the true and boaster show, pure and impure, and high and low. Else were no mark to judge between stainless and stained and high and mean. They to whose lot fair signs may fall were but as they who lack them all, and those to virtuous thoughts inclined were but as men of evil mind. If in the sacred name of right I do this wrong in duty's spite, the path of virtue meanly quit, and this polluting sin commit, what man who marks the bounds between virtue and vice with insight keen would rank me high in aftertime stained with this soul-destroying crime? Whither could I, the sinner, turn, how hope a seat in heaven to earn, if I my plighted promise break, and thus the righteous path forsake? This world of ours is ever led to walk the ways which others tread, and as their princes they behold, the subjects to their lives will mold. That truth and mercy still must be beloved of kings, is heaven's decree. Upheld by truth the monarch reigns, and truth the very world sustains. Truth evermore has been the love of holy saints and gods above, and he whose lips are truthful here wins, after death, the highest sphere. As from a serpent's deadly tooth, we shrink from him who scorns the truth. For holy truth is root and spring of justice, and each holy thing, a might that every power transcends, linked to high bliss that never ends. Truth is all virtue's surest base, supreme in worth and first in place. Oblations, gifts men offer here, vows, sacrifice, and rites austere, and holy writ on truth depend, so men must still that truth defend. Truth, only truth protects the land, by truth unharmed our houses stand, neglect of truth makes men distressed, and truth in highest heaven is blessed. Then how can I, rebellious, break commandments which my Father spake, I ever true and faithful found, and by my word of honor bound? My Father's bridge of truth shall stand unharmed by my destructive hand. Not folly, ignorance, or greed my darkened soul shall thus mislead. Have we not heard that God and shade turn from the hated offerings paid by him, whose false and fickle mind no pledge can hold, no promise bind? Truth is all duty. As the soul, it quickens and supports the whole. The good respect this duty, hence its sacred claims I reverence. The warrior's duty I despise that seeks the wrong in virtue's guise. Those claims I shrink from, which the base, cruel, and covetous embrace. The heart conceives the guilty thought, then by the hand the sin is wrought, and with the pair is leagued a third, the tongue that speaks the lying word. Fortune and land and name and fame to man's best care have right and claim. the good will I to truth adhere, and its high laws must men revere. Base were the deed thy lips would teach, approved as best by subtle speech. Shall I my plighted promise break, that I these woods my home would make? Shall I, as Bharat's words advise, my father's solemn charge despise? Firm stands the oath, which then before my father's face I soothly swore, which Queen Kaikeyí's anxious ear rejoiced with highest joy to hear. Still in the wood will I remain, with food prescribed my life sustain, and please with fruit and roots and flowers ancestral shades and heavenly powers. Here every sense contented, still heeding the bounds of good and ill my settled course will I pursue firm in my faith and ever true. Here in this wild and far retreat will I my noble task complete, and fire and wind and moon shall be partakers of its fruit with me. 100 offerings duly wrought his rank o'er gods for Indra bought, and mighty saints their heaven secured by torturing years on earth endured. That scoffing plea the hero spurned, and thus he spake once more, chiding the while his bosom burned Jáváli's impious lore. Justice and courage ne'er dismayed, pity for all distressed, truth, loving honor duly paid to Brahmin, god, and guest. In these, the true and virtuous say, should lives of men be passed, they form the right and happy way that leads to heaven at last. My father's thoughtless act one chide that gave the honored place, whose soul, from virtue turned aside, is faithless, dark, and base. We rank the Buddhist with the thief, 388, and all the impious crew who share his sinful disbelief, and hate the right and true. Hence never should wise kings who seek to rule their people well, admit, before their face to speak, the cursed infidel. But twice-born men in days gone by of other sort than thou, have wrought good deeds, whose glories high are fresh among us now. This world they conquered, nor in vain they strove to win the skies. The twice-born hence pure lives maintain, and fires of worship rise. Those who in virtue's path delight, and with the virtuous live, whose flames of holy zeal are bright, whose hands are swift to give, who injure none, and good and mild in every grace excel, whose lives by sin are undefiled, we love and honor well. Thus Rama spoke in righteous rage Jáváli's speech to chide, when thus again the virtuous sage in truthful words replied. The atheist's lore I use no more, not mine his impious creed, his words and doctrine I abhor, assumed at time of need. E'en as I rose to speak with thee, the fit occasion came that bade me use the atheist's plea to turn thee from thine aim. The atheist creed I disavow, unsay the words of sin, and use the faithful's language now thy favor, Prince, to win. Canto 110. The sons of Ikshváku, 389. Then spake V a execute, ish letter 160h, a who perceived that Rama's soul was wroth and grieved. Well knows the sage Jáváli all the changes that the world befall, and, but to lead thee to revoke thy purpose were the words he spoke. Lord of the world, now hear from me how first this world began to be. First water was, and not beside, there earth was formed that stretches wide. Then with the gods from out the same, the self-existent Brahma came. Then Brahma, 390, in a boar's disguise bade from the deep this earth arise. Then, with his sons of tranquil soul, he made the world and framed the whole. From subtlest ether Brahma rose, no end, no loss, no change he knows. A son had he, Marichi styled, and Kasyap was Marich's child. From him Vivasvat sprang, from him Manu, whose fame shall ne'er be dim. Manu, who life to mortals gave, begot Ikshváku good and brave. First of Ayodhya's kings was he, pride of her famous dynasty. From him the glorious Kakshi sprang, whose fame through all the regions rang. Rival of Kakshi's ancient fame, his heir the great Vikakshi came. His son was Va letter 1E47I, Lord of Might. His a N a R a letter 1E47Y, a strong in fight. No famine marred his blissful reign, no drought destroyed the kindly grain amid the sons of virtue chief. His happy realm ne'er held a thief. His son was Prithu, glorious name from him, the wise Trisanku came. Embodied to the skies he went for love of truth preeminent. He left a son renowned afar, known by the name of Dentumar. His son succeeding bore the name of Yuvanasva dear to fame. He passed away. Him followed then his son Mantata, king of men. His son was blessed and high in prize, Suzand he, fortunate and wise. 2 noble sons had he, to wit Druvasand he and Prasenajit. Bharat was Druvasand his son. his glorious arm the conquest won, against his son King Asit, rose in fierce array his royal foes, Ayodhyás, Talajanghas styled, and Sasavindhas fierce and wild. Long time he strove, but forced to yield fled from his kingdom and the field. The wives he left had both conceived, so is the ancient tale believed. One, of her rivals' hopes afraid, fell poison in the viands laid. It chanced that Chayavan, Brig's child, had wandered to the pathless wild, where proud Himalaya's lovely height detained him with a strange delight. Then came the other widowed queen with lotus eyes and beauteous mien, longing a noble son to bear, and wooed the saint with earnest prayer. When thus Kailindi, fairest dame, with reverent supplication came, to her the holy sage replied, O royal lady, from thy side a glorious son shall spring ere long, righteous and true and brave and strong. He, scourge of foes and lofty-souled, his ancient race shall still uphold. Then round the sage the lady went, and bade farewell, most reverent. Back to her home she turned once more, and there her promised son she bore. Because her rival mixed the bane to render her conception vain, and her unripened fruit destroy, Sagar she called her rescued boy. 391 he, when he paid that solemn rite, 392 filled living creatures with affright. Obedient to his high decree, his countless sons dug out the sea. Princess Samanj was Sagar's child, but him with cruel sin defiled, and loaded with the people's hate, his father banished from the state. To Asamanj his consort bare bright, Ansuman his valiant heir. Ansuman's son, Dilipa famed, begot a son Bajarath named. From him renowned Kakutstha came, thou bearest still the lineal name. Kakutstha's son was Raghu, thou art styled the son of Raghu now. From him came Purushadek bold, fierce hero of gigantic mold. Kalmashapada's name he bore, because his feet were spotted o'er. Sankhen his son, to manhood grown, died sadly with his host o'erthrown. But ere he perished sprang from him Sudarsan fair in face and limb. From beautiful Sudarsan came Prince Agniv, a R letter 1E47, bright as flame. His son was Sairaga, for speed unmatched, and Maru was his seed. Prasasruka was Maru's child, his son was Ambarisha styled. Nahush was Ambarisha's heir, with hand to strike and heart to dare. His son was good Nabhag, from youth renowned for piety and truth. From great Nabhag sprang children to Aja, and Savrat pure and true. From Aja Dasaratha came, whose virtuous life was free from blame. His eldest son art thou, his throne, O famous Rama, is thine own. Accept the sway so justly thine, and view the world with eyes benign. Forever in Ikshváku's race the eldest takes his father's place, and while he lives no son beside as Lord and King is sanctified. The rule by Raghu's children, kept thou must not spurn today. This realm of peerless wealth accept, and like thy father sway. Canto 111. Counsel to Bharat. Thus said V. A execute ish letter 1E60h, and again to Rama spake in duteous strain. All men the light of life who see with high respect should look on three. High honor ne'er must be denied to father, mother, holy guide. First to their sires their birth they owe, nursed with maternal love they grow. Their holy guides fair knowledge teach, so men should love and honor each. Thy sire and thou have learned of me, the sacred guide of him and thee, and if my word thou wilt obey thou still wilt keep the virtuous way. See, with the chiefs of every guild and all thy friends, this place is filled. All these, as duty bids, protect, so still the righteous path respect. Oh, for thine aged mother feel, nor spurn the virtuous dame's appeal. Obey, O prince, thy mother dear, and still to virtue's path adhere. Yield thou to Bharat's fond request, with earnest supplication pressed, so wilt thou to thyself be true, and faith and duty still pursue. Thus by his saintly guide addressed with pleas in sweetest tones expressed, the Lord of men in turn replied to wise via execute ish letter 1E60h by his side. The fondest son's observance ne'er repays the sire and mother's care, the constant love that food provides, and dress, and every need besides, their pleasant words still soft and mild, their nurture of the helpless child. The words which Dasaratha spake, my king and sire, I ne'er will break. Then Bharat of the ample chest the wise Sumantra thus addressed, bring sacred grass, O charioteer, and strew it on the level here. For I will sit and watch his face until I win my brother's grace. Like a robbed Brahmin will I lie, 393, nor taste of food nor turn my eye in front of Rama's leafy cot, until he yield will leave him not. When Bharat saw Sumantra's eye looked up to Rama for reply, the prince himself in eager haste the sacred grass in order placed. Him great and mighty Rama, best of royal saints, in turn addressed. What, Bharat, have I done that thou besiegest me? 394, a suppliant now. Thus stretched, to force redress for wrongs to men of Brahmin birth belongs, not those upon whose kingly head the consecrating drops are shed. Up, Lord of men! Arise, and quit this fearful vow for the unfit. Go, brother, seek Ayodhya's town, fair city of supreme renown. But Bharat, as his seat he took, cast all around an eager look. O people, join your prayers with mine, and so his stubborn heart incline. And all the people answered thus, full well is Rama known to us. Right is the word he speaks, and he is faithful to his sire's decree, nor can we rashly venture now to turn him from his purposed vow. Then Rama spoke, O Bharat, heed thy virtuous friends and mark their rede. Mark well what I and these advise, and duty view with clearer eyes. Thy hand on mine, O hero, place touch water and thy sin efface. Then Bharat rose, his hand he dipped and purifying water sipped. Each citizen, he cried, give ear attend, each counselor and peer. My mother planned, by me untaught, to win the sway I never sought. Ne'er Raghu's son could I despise, in duty's lore supremely wise. Now if obedience to our sire this dwelling in the woods require, I, till the destined years be spent, will dwell alone in banishment. The virtuous Rama, wonder stirred, the faithful speech of Bharat heard, and thus the hero's feelings found due utterance, as he gazed around. Still to my father's word I hold, whate'er he bought, or pledged, or sold, ne'er shall his living promise be annulled by Bharat or by me. Not thus my task will I evade, my exile on another laid. Most wise was Queen Kaikeyí's rede, and just and good my father's deed. Dear Bharat's patient soul I know, how reverence do he loves to show in him, high-souled and faithful found, must each auspicious grace abound. When from the woods I turn again I with his aid, shall nobly reign, with one so good, of peerless worth, a glorious lord of happy earth. Her boon Kaikeyí sought and won. I, as my father swore, have done, and oh, do thou, my brother dear, the monarch's name from falsehood clear. Canto 112. The Sandals. High wonder mingled with delight took the great sages at the sight, thrilling their breasts, who came to view the meeting of the peerless two. The saints and sages, holy train, departed to their home again. And high each holy voice was raised, and thus the glorious brothers praised. High fate is his, the sire of two most virtuous souls, so brave and true, with wonder and with joy intense our ears have heard their conference. Then the great sages, longing all to see the ten-necked tyrant, 395, fall to Bharat, bravest of the brave, their salutary counsel gave. O thou of lofty lineage born, whom wisdom, conduct, fame adorn, thou for thy honored father's sake shouldst Rama's righteous counsel take. All debts to Queen Kaikeyí paid, thy sire his home in heaven has made, so virtuous Rama we would see from filial obligation free. Thus gave each royal sage advice, high saint, and bard of paradise, then quickly vanishing from view each to his proper home withdrew. Then Rama's face his rapture showed, and his full heart with joy o'erflowed, while, as the sages parted thence, he paid his humble reverence. Then Bharat shook in every limb as suppliant, thus he spake to him, the duty of a king respect, held by our race in high respect, and oh, thy gracious ear inclined to heed my mother's prayer and mine. The mighty realm to rule and guard for me alone is task too hard. No power have I the love to gain of noble, citizen, and swain. All those who know thee, warrior, friend, on thee their eager glances bend, as laboring hinds who till the plain look fondly for the Lord of rain. O wisest prince, thy realm secure, and make its firm foundations sure. Kakut's son, thy mighty arm can keep the nation free from harm. He spoke, and fell in sorrow drowned at Rama's feet upon the ground, and there the hero sued and sighed, and hear me, Raghu's son, he cried. Then Rama raised him up and pressed his brother to his loving breast, and sweetly as a wild swan cried to Bharat dark and lotus-eyed. So just and true thy generous soul, thy hand may well this earth control. but many a sage his aid will lend with counselor and peer and friend. With these advise, their counsel ask, and so perform thy arduous task. The moon his beauty may forego, the cold forsake the hills of snow, and ocean o'er his banks may sweep, but I my father's word will keep. Now whether love of thee or greed thy mother led to plan the deed, forth from thy breast the memory throw, and filial love and reverence show. Thus spake Kausalia's son. Again Bharat replied in humble strain to him, who matched the sun in might and lovely as the young moon's light. Put, noble brother, I entreat, these sandals on thy blessed feet. These, lord of men with gold bedecked, the realm and people will protect. Then Rama, as his brother prayed beneath his feet the sandals laid, and these with fond affection gave to Bharat's hand, the good and brave. Then Bharat bowed his reverent head, and thus again to Rama said, Through 14 seasons will I wear the hermit's dress and matted hair, with fruit and roots my life sustain, and still beyond the realm remain, longing for thee to come again. The rule and all affairs of state I to these shoes will delegate. And if, O tamer of thy foes, when 14 years have reached their close, I see thee not that day return, the kindled fire my frame shall burn. Then Rama to his bosom drew dear Bharat and Satrugna too. Be never wroth, he cried, with her, Kaikeyí's guardian minister. This, glory of Ikshváku's line, is Sítá's earnest prayer and mine. He spoke, and as the big tears fell, to his dear brother bade farewell. Round Rama, Bharat strong and bold in humble reverence paced, when the bright sandals wrought with gold above his brows were placed. The royal elephant, who led the glorious pomp he found, and on the monster's mighty head those sandals duly bound. Then noble Rama, born to swell the glories of his race, to all in order bade farewell with love and tender grace, to brothers, counsellors, and peers, still firm, in duty proved firm, as the Lord of Snow uprears his mountains unremoved. No queen, for choking sobs and sighs, could say her last adieu. Then Rama bowed, with flooded eyes, and to his cot withdrew. Canto 113. Bharat's return. Bearing the sandals on his head away triumphant Bharat sped, and clomb, Satrugna by his side, the car wherein he wont a ride. Before the mighty army went the lords for counsel eminent a execute ish letter 160h. Vamadva next, Jáváli, pure with prayer and text. Then from that lovely river, they turned eastward on their homeward way. With reverent steps from left to right they circled Chitr a K, U acute, letter 160, a S height, and viewed his peaks on every side with stains of 1,000 metals dyed. Then Bharat saw, not far away, where Bharadvaja's dwelling lay. And when the chieftain bold and sage had reached that holy hermitage, down from the car he sprang to greet the saint, and bowed before his feet. High rapture filled the hermit's breast, who thus the royal prince addressed, Say, Bharat, is thy duty done? Hast thou with Rama met, my son? The chief whose soul to virtue clave this answer to the hermit gave. I prayed him with our holy guide, but Raghu's son our prayer denied, and long besought by both of us, he answered Saint a execute ish letter 160h thus. True to my vow, I still will be observant of my sire's decree. Till 14 years complete their course that promise shall remain in force. The saint in highest wisdom taught, these solemn words with wisdom fraught, to him in lore of language learned most eloquent himself returned. Obey my rede. Let Bharat hold this pair of sandals decked with gold, they in Ayodhyá shall ensure our welfare, and our bliss secure. When Rama heard the royal priest he rose, and looking to the east consigned the sandals to my hand that they for him might guard the land. Then from the high-souled chief's abode I turned upon my homeward road, dismissed by him, and now this pair of sandals to Ayodhyá bear. To him the hermit thus replied, by Bharat's tidings gratified. No marvel thoughts so just and true, thou best of all who right pursue, should dwell in thee, O Prince of men, as waters gather in the glen. He is not dead, we mourn in vain. Thy blessed father lives again, whose noble son we thus behold like virtue's self in human mold. He ceased, before him Bharat fell to clasp his feet and said farewell. His reverent steps around him bent, and onward to Ayodhyá went. His host of followers stretching far with many an elephant and car, wagon and steed, and mighty train traversed their homeward way again. O'er holy Yamuna they sped, fair stream, with waves engarlanded, And then once more the river's queen, the blessed Ganga's self was seen. Then making o'er that flood his way, where crocodiles and monsters lay, the king to Sringavara drew his host and royal retinue. His onward way he thence pursued, and soon renowned Ayodhyá viewed. Then burnt by woe and sad of cheer Bharat addressed the charioteer. Ah, see, Ayodhyá dark and sad, her glory gone, once bright and glad, of joy and beauty reft, forlorn in silent grief she seems to mourn. Canto 114. Bharat's departure. Deep, pleasant was the chariot's sound as royal Bharat, far renowned, whirled by his mettled coursers fast within Ayodhya's city past. There dark and drear was every home where cats and owls had space to roam, as when the shades of midnight fall with blackest gloom, and cover all. As Rohi letter 1E47 I acute, dear spouse of him whom Rahu hates. 396, grows faint and dim, when as she shines on high alone the demon's shade is o'er her throne. As burnt by summer's heat a rill scarce trickling from her parent hill, with dying fish in pools half dried, and fainting birds upon her side. As sacrificial flames arise when holy oil their food supplies, but when no more the fire is fed sink lustreless and cold and dead. Like some brave host that filled the plain, with harness rent and captain slain, when warrior, elephant, and steed mingled in wild confusion bleed, as when all spent her store of worth, rocks from her base the loosened earth. Like a sad fallen star, no more wearing the lovely light it wore. So mournful in her lost estate was that sad town disconsolate. Then car-born Bharat, good and brave, thus spake to him the steeds who drave. Why are Ayodhya's streets so mute? Where is the voice of lyre and lute? Why sounds not, as of old, today the music of the minstrels lay? Where are the wreaths they used to twine? Where are the blossoms and the wine? Where is the cool, refreshing scent of sandal, dust with aloe blent? The elephant's impatient roar, the din of cars, I hear no more. No more the horse's pleasant neigh rings out to meet me on my way. Ayodhya's youths, since Rama's flight, have lost their relish for delight. Her men roam forth no more, nor care bright garlands round their necks to wear. All grieve for banished Rama. Feast and revelry and song have ceased, like a black night when floods pour down, so dark and gloomy is the town. When will he come to make them gay, like some auspicious holiday? When will my brother, like a cloud at summer's close, make glad the crowd? Then through the streets the hero rode, and passed within his sire's abode, like some deserted lion's den, forsaken by the lord of men. Then to the inner bowers he came, once happy home of many a dame, now gloomy, sad, and drear, dark as of old that sunless day when wept the gods in wild dismay. 397, there poured he many a tear. Canto 115. Nandigrám, 398. Then when the pious chief had seen lodged in her home each widowed queen, still with his burning grief oppressed his holy guides he thus addressed. I go to Nandigrám. Adieu this day, my lords, to all of you. I go, my load of grief to bear, reft of the son of Raghu there. The king my sire, alas, is dead, and Rama to the forest fled. There will I wait till he, restored, shall rule the realm, its rightful lord. They heard the high-souled prince's speech, and thus with ready answer each of those great lords their chief addressed, with Saint V a execute ish letter 1E60h and the rest. Good are the words which thou hast said, by brotherly affection led, like thine own self, a faithful friend, true to thy brother to the end, a heart like then must all approve, which not from virtue's path can move. Soon as the words he loved to hear fell upon Bharat's joyful ear, thus to the charioteer he spoke. My car with speed, Sumantra, yoke. Then Bharat with delighted mien obeisance paid to every queen, and with Satrugna by his side mounting the car away he hied. With lords and priests in long array the brothers hastened on their way. And the great pomp the Brahmins led with Saint V a execute, ish letter 1E60h are at their head. Then every face was eastward bent, as on to Nandigrám they went. Behind the army followed, all unsummoned by their leader's call, and steeds and elephants and men streamed forth with every citizen. As Bharat in his chariot rode his heart with love fraternal glowed, and with the sandals on his head to Nandigrám he quickly sped. Within the town he swiftly pressed, alighted and his guides addressed, to me in trust my brother's hand consign the lordship of the land, when he these gold-wrought sandals gave as emblems to protect and save. Then Bharat bowed, and from his head the sacred pledge deposited, and thus to all the people cried who ringed him round on every side, "Haste, for these sandals quickly bring the canopy that shades the king. Pay ye to them all reverence meet as to my elder brother's feet, for they will right and law maintain until King Rama come again. My brother with a loving mind these sandals to my charge consigned. I till he come will guard with care the sacred trust for Raghu's heir. My watchful task will soon be done, the pledge restored to Raghu's son. Then shall I see, his wanderings o'er, these sandals on his feet once more. My brother I shall meet at last, the burthen from my shoulders cast, to Rama's hand the realm restore, and serve my elder as before. When Rama takes again this pair of sandals kept with pious care, and here his glorious reign begins, I shall be cleansed from all my sins. When the glad people's voices ring with welcome to the new-made king, joy will be mine fourfold as great as if supreme I ruled the state." Thus humbly spoke in sad lament the chief in fame preeminent. Thus, by his reverent lords obeyed, at Nandigrám the kingdom swayed. With hermit's dress and matted hair he dwelt with all his army there. The sandals of his brother's feet installed upon the royal seat, he, all his powers to them referred affairs of state administered. In every care, in every task, when golden store was brought, he first, as though their rede to ask, those royal sandals sought. Canto 116. The Hermit's Speech. When Bharat took his homeward road, still Rama in the wood abode. But soon he marked the fear and care that darkened all the hermits there. For all who dwelt before the hill were sad with dread of coming ill, each holy brow was lined by thought, and Rama's side they often sought. With gathering frowns the prince they eyed, and then withdrew and talked aside. Then Raghu's son with anxious breast the leader of the saints addressed, "Can aught that I have done displease, O reverend sage, the devotees? Why are their loving looks, O say, thus sadly changed or turned away? Has Lakshman, a letter 1E47, through his want of heed, offended with unseemly deed? Or is the gentle Sítá, she who loved to honor you and me, is she the cause of this offense, failing in lowly reverence? One sage, o'er whom, exceeding old, had many a year of penance rolled, trembling in every aged limb, thus for the rest replied to him, How could we, O beloved, blame thy lofty-souled Vidhan dame, who in the good of all delights, and more than all of anchorites? But yet through the unnumbing dread of fiends among our band has spread, obstructed by the demons, art the trembling hermits talk apart. For R.A.V. a letter 1E47's brother, overbold, named Kara, of gigantic mold, vexes with fury fierce and fell all those in Janisthan, 399, who dwell. Resistless in his cruel deeds, on flesh of men the monster feeds. Sinful and arrogant is he, and looks with special hate on thee. Since thou, beloved son, hast made thy home within this holy shade, the fiends have vexed with wilder rage the dwellers of the hermitage. In many a wild and dreadful form around the trembling saints they swarm, with hideous shape and foul, disguise they terrify our holy eyes. They make our loathing souls endure insult and scorn and sights impure, and flocking round the altars stay the holy rites we love to pay. In every spot throughout the grove, with evil thoughts, the monsters rove assailing with their secret, might each unsuspecting anchorite. Ladle and dish away they fling, our fires with floods extinguishing, and when the sacred flame should burn they trample on each water urn. Now when they see their sacred wood plagued by this impious brotherhood, the troubled saints away would roam and seek in other shades a home. Hence will we fly, O Rama, ere the cruel fiends our bodies tear. Not far away a forest lies rich in the roots and fruit we prize. To this will I and all repair and join the holy hermits there. Be wise, and with us thither flee before this Kara injure thee. Mighty art thou, O Rama, yet each day with peril is beset. If with thy consort by thy side, thou in this wood wilt still abide. He ceased. The words the hero spake the hermit's purpose failed to break. To Raghu's son farewell he said, and blessed the chief and comforted. Then, with the rest, the holy sage departed from the hermitage. So from the wood the saints withdrew, and Rama bidding all adieu in lowly reverence bent. Instructed by their friendly speech, blessed with the gracious love of each, to his pure home he went. Nor would the son of Raghu stray a moment from that grove away, from which the saints had fled. And many a hermit thither came attracted by his saintly fame and the pure life he led. Canto 117. Ayodhyá. But dwelling in that lonely spot left, by the hermits pleased him not. I met the faithful Bharat here, the townsmen and my mother dear. The painful memory lingers yet, and stings me with a vain regret. And here the host of Bharat camped, and many a courser here has stamped, and elephants with ponderous feet have trampled through the calm retreat. So forth to seek a home he hied, his spouse and a KSHM, a letter 1E47 by his side. He came to Atri's pure retreat, paid reverence to his holy feet, and from the saints such welcome won as a fond father gives his son. The noble prince with joy unfeigned as a dear guest he entertained, and cheered the glorious a KSHM, a letter 1E47 too, and Sítá with observance due. Then Ayodhyá at the call of him who sought the good of all, his blameless venerable spouse, delighting in her holy vows, came from her chamber to his side. To her the virtuous hermit cried, "Receive, I pray, with friendly grace this dame of Mathil monarch's race." To Rama next made known his wife, the devotee of saintliest life. 10,000 years this Vadar's bent on sternest rites of penance spent. She when the clouds withheld their rain, and drought 10 years consumed the plain, caused grateful roots and fruit to grow and ordered Ganga here to flow. So from their cares the saints she freed, nor let these checks their rights impede, she wrought in heaven's behalf, and made 10 knights of one, the gods to aid. 400. Let holy Ayodhyá be an honored mother, prince, to thee. Let thy Vidhin spouse draw near to her, whom all that live revere, stricken in years, whose loving mind is slow to wrath and ever kind. He ceased, and Rama gave assent, and said, with eyes on Sítá bent, O princess, thou hast heard with me this counsel of the devotee. Now that her touch thy soul may bless, approach the saintly Vadars, come to the venerable dame, far known by Ayodhyá's name. The mighty things that she has done high glory in the world have won. Thus spoke the son of Raghu. She approached the saintly devotee, who with her white locks, old and frail, shook like a plantain in the gale. To that true spouse she bowed her head, and Lady, I am Sítá, said, raised suppliant hands and prayed her tell that all was prosperous and well. The aged matron, when she saw fair Sítá true to duty's law, addressed her thus, High fate is thine whose thoughts to virtue still incline. Thou, lady of the noble mind, haste kin and state and wealth, resigned to follow Rama, forced to tread where solitary woods are spread. Those women gain high spheres above who still unchanged their husbands' love, whether they dwell in town or wood, whether their hearts be ill or good. Though wicked, poor, or led away in love's forbidden paths to stray, the noble matron still will deem her lord a deity supreme. Regarding kin and friendship, I can see no better, holier tie, and every penance rite is dim beside the joy of serving him. But dark is this to her, whose mind promptings of idle fancy blind, who led by evil thoughts away, makes him who should command obey. Such women, O dear Mathil dame, their virtue lose and honest fame, enslaved by sin and folly, led in these unholy paths to tread. But they who good and true like thee the present and the future see, like men by holy deeds, will rise to mansions in the blissful skies. So keep thee pure from taint of sin, still to thy Lord be true, and fame and merit shalt thou win to thy devotion due. Canto 118. Ayodhyá's gifts. Thus by the holy dame addressed who banished envy from her breast, her lowly reverence Sítá paid, and softly thus her answer made. No marvel, best of dames, thy speech the duties of a wife should teach, yet I, O lady, also know due reverence to my lord to show. Were he the meanest of the base, unhonored with a single grace, my husband still I ne'er would leave, but firm through all to him would cleave, still rather to a lord like mine, whose virtues high exalted shine, compassionate, of lofty soul, with every sense in due control true in his love, of righteous mind, like a dear sire and mother kind. E'en as he ever loves to treat Kausalya with observance meet, has his behavior ever been to every other honored queen. Nay more, a son-like reverence shows the noble Rama e'en to those on whom the king his father set his eyes one moment, to forget. Deep in my heart the words are stored, said by the mother of my lord, when from my home I turned away in the lone fearful woods to stray. The counsel of my mother deep impressed upon my soul I keep, when by the fire I took my stand, and Rama clasped in his my hand. And in my bosom cherished, yet, my friends, advice I ne'er forget. Woman her holiest offering pays, when she her husband's will obeys. Good Savitri her lord obeyed, and a high saint in heaven was made, and for the selfsame virtue thou hast, heaven in thy possession now. And she with whom no dame could vie, now a bright goddess in the sky, sweet Rohi letter 1E47 I acute the moon's dear queen, without her lord is never seen, and many a faithful wife beside for her pure love is glorified. Thus Sítá spake. Soft rapture stole through Anasuya's saintly soul, kisses on Sita's head she pressed, and thus the Maithil dame addressed. I by long rites and toils endured rich store of merit have secured, from this my wealth will I bestow a blessing ere I let thee go. So right and wise and true each word that from thy lips mine ears have heard, I love thee. Be my pleasing task to grant the boon that thou shalt ask. Then Sítá marveled much, and while played o'er her lips a gentle smile, all has been done, O saint, she cried, and naught remains to wish beside. She spake, the lady's meek reply swelled Anasuya's rapture high. Sítá, she said, my gift today thy sweet contentment shall repay. Accept this precious robe to wear, of heavenly fabric, rich and rare, these gems thy limbs to ornament, this precious balsam sweet of scent. O Maithil dame, this gift of mine shall make thy limbs with beauty shine, and breathing o'er thy frame dispense its pure and lasting influence. This balsam on thy fair limbs spread new radiance on thy lord shall shed, as Lakshmi's beauty lends a grace to VISH letter 1E47US own celestial face. Then Sítá took the gift the dame bestowed on her in friendship's name, the balsam, gems, and robe divine, and garlands wreathed of bloomy twine, then sat her down, with reverence meet, at saintly Anasuya's feet. The matron rich in rites and vows turned her to Rama's Maithil spouse, and questioned thus in turn to hear a pleasant tale to charm her ear. Sítá, 'tis said that Raghu's son thy hand, mid gathered suitors, won. I fain would hear thee, lady, tell the story as it all befell. Do thou repeat each thing that passed, reviewing all from first to last. Thus spake the dame to Sítá. She replying to the devotee, then, lady, thy attention lend, rehearse the story to the end. King Janak, just and brave and strong, who loves the right and hates the wrong, well skilled in what the law ordains for warriors, o'er Vidha reigns. Guiding one morn the plough, his hand marked out, for rights the sacred land, when, as the ploughshare cleft the earth, child of the king I leapt to birth. Then, as the ground he smoothed and cleared, he saw me all with dust besmeared, and on the new-found babe, amazed the ruler of Vidha gazed. In childless love, the monarch pressed the welcome infant to his breast. My daughter, thus he cried, is she? And as his child he cared for me. Forth from the sky was heard o'erhead as 'twere a human voice that said, Yea, even so, great king, this child henceforth thine own be justly styled. Vidha's monarch, virtuous-souled, rejoiced o'er me with joy untold, delighting in his new-won prize, the darling of his heart and eyes. To his chief queen of saintly mind the precious treasure he consigned, and by her side she saw me grow, nursed with the love which mothers know. Then as he saw the seasons fly, and knew my marriage time was nigh, my sire was vexed with care, as sad as one who mourns the wealth he had. Scorn on the maiden's sire must wait from men of high and low estate, the virgin's father all despise, though Indra's peer, who rules the skies. More near he saw, and still more near, the scorn that filled his soul with fear, on trouble's billowy ocean tossed, like one whose shattered bark is lost. My father knowing how I came, no daughter of a mortal dame, in all the regions failed to see a bridegroom meet to match with me. Each way with anxious thought he scanned, and thus at length the monarch planned. The bride's election will I hold, with every rite prescribed of old. It pleased King Varu letter 1E47 to bestow quiver and shafts and heavenly bow upon my father's sire who reigned, when Daksha his great rite ordained. Where was the man might bend or lift with utmost toil that wondrous gift? Not e'en in dreams could mortal king strain the great bow or draw the string. Of this tremendous bow possessed, my truthful father thus addressed the lords of many a region, all assembled at the monarch's call. Whoe'er this bow can manage, he the husband of my child shall be. The suitors viewed with hopeless eyes that wondrous bow of mountain size, then to my sire they bade adieu, and all with humbled hearts withdrew. At length with Visvamitra came this son of Raghu, dear to fame, the royal sacrifice to view. Near to my father's home he drew his brother Lakshman, a letter 1E47 by his side, Rama, in deeds heroic tried. My sire with honor entertained the saint in lore of duty trained, who thus in turn addressed the king. Rama and Lakshman, a letter 1E47 here, who spring from royal Dasaratha, long to see thy bow so passing strong. Before the prince's eyes was laid that marvel, as the Brahmin prayed. One moment on the bow he gazed, quick to the notch the string he raised, then, in the wandering people's view, the cord with mighty force he drew. Then with an awful crash as loud as thunderbolts that cleave the cloud, the bow beneath the matchless strain of arms heroic, snapped in twain. Thus, giving purest water he, my sire, to Rama offered me. The prince the offered gift declined, till he should learn his father's mind. So horsemen swift Ayodhyá sought, and back her aged monarch brought. Me then my sire to Rama gave, self-ruled, the bravest of the brave. And Urmila, the next to me, graced with all gifts, most fair to see, my sire with Raghu's house allied, and gave her to be Lakshman, a letter 1E47's bride. Thus from the princes of the land, Lord Rama won my maiden hand, and him exalted high above heroic chiefs I truly love. Canto 119. The Forest. When Anasuya, virtuous souled, had heard the tale by Sítá told, she kissed the lady's brow and laced her loving arms around her waist. With sweet-toned words distinct and clear thy pleasant tale has charmed mine ear, how the great king thy father held that maiden's choice unparalleled. But now the sun has sunk from sight, and left the world to holy night. Hark! How the leafy thickets sound with gathering birds that twitter round. They sought their food by day, and all flock homeward when the shadows fall. See, hither comes the hermit band, each with his pitcher in his hand. Fresh from the bath, their locks are wet, their coats of bark are dripping yet. Here saints their fires of worship tend, and curling wreaths of smoke ascend. Borne on the flames, they mount above, dark as the brown wings of the dove. The distant trees, though well-nigh bare, gloom thickened by the evening air, and in the faint, uncertain light shut the horizon from our sight. The beasts that prowl in darkness rove on every side about the grove, and the tame deer, at ease recline their shelter near the altars find. The night o'er all the sky is spread, with lunar stars engarlanded, and risen in his robes of light, the moon is beautifully bright. Now to thy Lord I bid thee go, thy pleasant tale has charmed me so, one thing alone I needs must pray, before me first thyself array, here in thy heavenly raiment shine, and glad, dear love, these eyes of mine. Then like a heavenly goddess shone fair Sítá with that raiment on. She bowed her to the matron's feet, then turned away her lord to meet. The hero prince with joy surveyed his Sítá in her robes arrayed. As glorious to his arms, she came with love gifts of the saintly dame. She told him how the saint to show her fond affection would bestow that garland of celestial twine, those ornaments and robes divine. Then Rama's heart, nor Lakshman, a letter 1E47's less, was filled with pride and happiness, for honors high had Sítá gained, which mortal dames have scarce obtained. There honored by each pious sage who dwelt within the hermitage, beside his darling well-content, that sacred night the hero spent. The princes, when the night had fled, farewell to all the hermits said, who gazed upon the distant shade, their lustral rites and offerings paid. The saints who made their dwelling there in words like these addressed the pair. O princes, monsters fierce and fell around that distant forest dwell, on blood from human veins they feed, and various forms assume at need, with savage beasts of fearful power that human flesh and blood devour. Our holy saints they rend and tear when met alone or unaware, and eat them in their cruel joy. These chase, O Rama, or destroy. By this one path our hermits go to fetch the fruits that yonder grow. By this, O Prince, thy feet should stray through pathless forests far away. Thus by the reverent saints addressed, and by their prayers auspicious blessed, he left the holy crowd, his wife and brother by his side, within the mighty wood he hide. So sinks the day god in his pride, beneath a bank of cloud. Book 3. Canto 1. The Hermitage. When Rama, valiant hero, stood in the vast shade of D, a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a K wood, his eyes on every side he bent and saw a hermit settlement, where coats of bark were hung around, and holy grass bestrewed the ground. Bright with Brahmanic luster glowed that circle where the saints abode. Like the hot sun in heaven it shone, too dazzling to be looked upon. Wild creatures found a refuge where the court, well swept, was bright and fair, and countless birds and roe deer made their dwelling in the friendly shade. Beneath the boughs of well-loved trees oft danced the gay apsarases. 401, around was many an ample shed wherein the holy fire was fed, with sacred grass and skins of deer, ladles and sacrificial gear, and roots and fruit, and wood to burn, and many a brimming water urn. Tall trees their hallowed branches spread, laden with pleasant fruit, orchid, and gifts which holy laws require. 402, and solemn offerings burnt with fire. 403, and Veda chants on every side that home of hermits sanctified. There many a flower its odor shed, and lotus blooms the lake o'erspread. There, clad in coats of bark and hide, their food by roots and fruit supplied, dwelt many an old and reverend sire bright as the sun or lord of fire, all with each worldly sense subdued, a pure and saintly multitude. The Veda chants, the saints who trod the sacred ground and mused on God, made that delightful grove appear like Brahma's own most glorious sphere. As Raghu's splendid son surveyed that hermit home and tranquil shade, he loosed his mighty bowstring, then drew nearer to the holy men. With keen celestial sight endued those mighty saints the chieftain viewed, with joy to meet the prince they came, and gentle Sítá dear to fame. They looked on virtuous Rama, fair as Soma, 404 in the evening air, and Lakshman, a letter 1E47 by his brother's side, and Sítá long in duty tried, and with glad blessings every sage received them in the hermitage. Then Rama's form and stature tall entranced the wondering eyes of all, his youthful grace, his strength of limb, and garb that nobly sat on him. To Lakshman, a letter 1E47 to their looks they raised, and upon Sítá's beauty gazed with eyes that closed, not lest their sight should miss the vision of delight. Then the pure hermits of the wood, rejoicing in all creatures, good their guest, the glorious Rama, led within a cot with leaves o'erhead. With highest honor all the best of radiant saints received their guest, with kind observance, as is meet, and gave him water for his feet. To highest pitch of rapture, wrought their stores of roots and fruit they brought. They poured their blessings on his head, and all we have is thine, they said. Then reverent hand to hand applied, 405 each duty-loving hermit cried, "The king is our protector, bright in fame, maintainer of the right. He bears the awful sword, and hence deserves an elder's reverence. 1/4 of Indra's essence, he preserves his realm from danger free. Hence, honored by the world of right, the king enjoys each choice delight. Thou shouldst to us protection give, for in thy realm, dear Lord, we live. Whether in town or wood thou be, thou art our king, thy people we. Our worldly aims are laid aside, our hearts are tamed and purified. To thee our guardian, we who earn our only wealth by penance turn." Then the pure dwellers in the shade to Raghu's son due honor paid, and Lakshman, a letter 1E47, bringing store of roots, and many a flower and woodland fruits. And others strove the prince to please with all attentive courtesies. Canto 2. Ayodhyá. Thus entertained he passed the night then, with the morning's early light, to all the hermits bade adieu, and sought his onward way anew. He pierced the mighty forest, where roamed many a deer and pard and bear, its ruined pools he scarce could see. For creeper rent and prostrate tree, where shrill cicadas' cries were heard, and plaintive notes of many a bird. Deep in the thickets of the wood with Lakshman, a letter 1E47, and his spouse he stood. There in the horrid shade he saw a giant passing nature's law, vast as some mountain peak in size, with mighty voice and sunken eyes, huge, hideous, tall, with monstrous face, most ghastly of his giant race. A tiger's hide the Rakshas wore, still reeking with the fat and gore. Huge-faced, like him who rules the dead, all living things he struck with dread. 3 lions, tigers 4, 10 deer he carried on his iron spear, 2 wolves, an elephant's head beside with mighty tusks which blood drops dyed. When on the three his fierce eye fell, he charged them with a roar and yell as furious as the grisly king when stricken worlds are perishing. Then with a mighty roar that shook the earth beneath their feet, he took the trembling Sítá to his side, withdrew a little space and cried, "Ha, short-lived wretches, ye who dare, in hermit dress with matted hair, armed each with arrows, sword, and bow, through D a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a KS pathless wood to go. How with one dame, I bid you tell, can you among ascetics dwell? Who are ye, sinners, who despise the right in holy men's disguise? The great Varedha, day by day through this deep tangled wood I stray, and ever, armed with trusty steel, I seize a saint to make my meal. This woman young and fair of frame shall be the conquering giant's dame. Your blood, ye things of evil life, my lips shall quaff in battle strife." He spoke, and Janak's hapless child, scared by his speech so fierce and wild, trembled for terror, as a frail young plantain shivers in the gale. When Rama saw Varedha clasp fair Sítá in his mighty grasp, thus with pale lips that terror dried the hero to his brother cried, "O see Varedha's arm enfold my darling in its cursed hold. The child of Janak, best of kings, my spouse whose soul to virtue clings, sweet princess, with pure glory bright, nursed in the lap of soft delight. Now falls the blow Kaikeyí meant, successful in her dark intent. This day her cruel soul will be triumphant over thee and me. Though Bharat on the throne is set, her greedy eyes look farther yet. Me from my home she dared expel, me whom all creatures loved so well. This fatal day at length, I ween, brings triumph to the younger queen. I see with bitterest grief and shame another touch the Maythil dame. Not loss of sire and royal power so grieves me as this mournful hour." Thus in his anguish cried the chief, then drowned in tears, o'erwhelmed by grief, thus LAKSHM a letter 1E47 in his anger spake, quick panting like a spellbound snake. "Canst thou, my brother, Indra's peer, when I thy minister am near, thus grieve like some forsaken thing, thou, every creature's lord and king? My vengeful shaft the fiend shall slay, and earth shall drink his blood today. The fury which my soul at first upon usurping Bharat nursed, on this Varedha will I wreak as Indra splits the mountain peak. Winged by this arm's impetuous might my shaft with deadly force the monster in the chest shall smite, and fell his shattered course." Canto 3. Varedha attacked. Varedha, with a fearful shout that echoed through the wood, cried out, "What men are ye, I bid you say, and whither would ye bend your way?" To him whose mouth shot fiery flame the hero told his race and name. "Two warriors, nobly bred, are we, and through this wood we wander free. But who art thou, how born and styled? Who roamest here in D a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a KS wild?" To Rama, bravest of the brave, his answer thus Varedha gave, "Hear, Raghu's son, and mark me well, and I my name and race will tell. Of Satyradha born, I spring from Java as my sire, O king. Me, of this lofty lineage, all giants on earth Varedha call. The rights austere I long maintained from Brahma's grace, the boon of gain to bear a charmed frame, which ne'er weapon or shaft may pierce or tear. Go as ye came, untouched by fear, and leave with me this woman here. Go, swiftly from my presence fly, or by this hand ye both shall die." Then Rama with his fierce eyes red with fury to the giant said, "Woe to thee, sinner, fond and weak, who madly thus thy death wilt seek. Stand, for it waits thee in the fray, with life thou ne'er shalt flee away." He spoke, and raised the cord whereon a pointed arrow flashed and shone, then, wild with anger from his bow, he launched the weapon on the foe. 7 times the fatal cord he drew, and forth 7 rapid arrows flew, shafts winged with gold that left the wind, and e'en SUP a R letter 1E47 a S, 406, self behind. Full on the giant's breast they smote, and purpled like the peacock's throat, passed through his mighty bulk, and came to earth again like flakes of flame. The fiend the Maythil dame unclasped, in his fierce hand his spear he grasped, and wild with rage, pierced through and through, at Rama and his brother flew. So loud the roar which chilled with fear, so massy was the monster's spear. He seemed, like Indra's flagstaff, dread as the dark god who rules the dead. On huge Varedha fierce as he, 407, who smites, and worlds have ceased to be, the princely brothers poured Amin their fiery flood of arrowy rain. Unmoved he stood, and opening wide his dire mouth laughed unterrified, and ever as the monster gaped those arrows from his jaws escaped. Preserving still his life unharmed, by Brahma's saving promise charmed, his mighty spear aloft in air he raised, and rushed upon the pair. From Rama's bow too, arrows flew and cleft that massive spear in two dire, as the flaming levin sent from out the cloudy firmament. Cut by the shafts he guided well to earth the giant's weapon fell, as when from Meru's summit, riven by fiery bolts, a rock is driven. Then swift his sword each warrior drew, like a dread serpent black of hue, and gathering fury for the blow rushed fiercely on the giant foe. Around each prince an arm he cast, and held the dauntless heroes fast. Then, though his gashes gaped and bled, bearing the twain he turned and fled. Then Rama saw the giant's plan, and to his brother thus began. OLAKSHM a letter 1E47, let Bharat still hurry us onward as he will, for look, Sumitra's son, he goes along the path we freely chose. He spoke, the rover of the night upraised them with terrific might till, to his lofty shoulders swung, like children to his neck they clung. Then sending far his fearful roar, the princes through the wood he bore. A wood like some vast cloud to view, where birds of every plumage flew, and mighty trees o'erarching through dark shadows on the ground, where snakes and sylvan creatures made their dwelling, and the jackal strayed through tangled brakes around. Canto 4. Bharat his death.